Well, let's talk to Justin Urquhart-Stewart, the investment manager and business commentator. Justin, welcome back. Analysts, many of them wearing red braces around the world, were prophesying doom 24 hours ago. What is going on here? I mean, the markets are rebounding and recovering, but the trade war is escalating.
And the markets at the moment can't judge what's happening. So what you saw was an immediate reaction. Markets going down, and that was actually then held up because obviously China and Japan had holidays during that time. So at the start of the week was negative because of that anyway, but to a so great extent they were just catching up. But the underlying questions are still there in terms of resolving the issues. So the markets will still be very thin, and a bit like tap dancing on ice. Tap too hard and you'll go straight through it. But on the other hand, remember that actually the investment, it's all about longer term, and so investors themselves, and their pension or not, they'll get their money from terms of dividends and compounding those dividends over time. The gyrations of stocks being bought and sold by silly gits and red braces is almost beside the point. And remember, most of the trades carrying out on that New York floor weren't done by humans. That's not an insult to the Americans, but they were automated trades. So once you have sales going through and they hit a certain level, there's an automatic sell for the next level. So you have to be very cynical over all of this, and the markets will remain jittery till they can see any solution in the future. At the moment, we can't see one.
You say they're jittery, but this is more than a wobble, although it's not a crash. So how is what we're seeing, how is it different to, say, what we saw in 2008 in the financial crisis, and also what we saw with the COVID pandemic and how that shook things up in 2020? Well,
first of all, you come up with a new title rather than crash and say it's now, actually, we're just reciting the market, and that's another way of putting it. What you're also then seeing is people in a position where most investors will actually be hanging on. They won't necessarily trade because they're frightened as to what's happened. Do their cash come straight out now? But what was interesting here was it wasn't just stocks being hit, you saw gold being hit as well. And surely we were being brought up. If the world gets nervous, you go and buy gold. But actually what was happening, of course, you had investors covering their other losses, forced to sell gold. And remember, you have a lot of trading known as margin trading, where effectively you're borrowing money to do the trade, but if the stock starts going down, the person who's lent the money wants it back now.
The headlines in the airtime is being dominated by presidents, one in particular, prime ministers, investors around the world. Let's just talk for a moment about ordinary mortals and what this means to you and me, to savers. I mean, trillions wiped off pension funds, but I guess petrol, fuel is going to get cheaper.
There's some benefit to it, but I mean, yes, no doubt there'll be other inflationary pressures coming through. So it's nice to actually see some of those prices coming down very dramatically. Remember, there was only one country that was stupid enough to set their oil budget price at $100 a barrel. Oh, the Russians. Good, but they got that wrong too. Don't underestimate the weakness of the Russian economy. It is a very dire state indeed. Obviously running a war, but also its trade and all the sanctions against it. There's a lot of pain there. So actually what happens now for all of us in terms of our pension money, look through this and actually say we assume there's going to be a recovery. If you think the end of the world is nigh, I'd suggest you go and buy a crate of whiskey and go and sit in a cave in Wales.
So is this it? Have we hit rock bottom? Are we now going to see everyone clawing things back? Because I do feel that this is very different. We're not part of a business cycle. No. We haven't had a global pandemic. This seems to be of one man's making. Well,
one man's making, who's, of course, with his views will change on a sixpence. Not that he's ever met a sixpence. And so, therefore, he will change his mind just like that. And that's what makes markets nervous. Give us some idea of where we're going, I'll judge the certainty or not, and if you can't, I'm out of it.
Justin, thank you. I should say more Justin later in the programme in part 2 of our tariff-tastic coverage. Justin Urquhart-Stewart, for the moment, thank you very much.
Pleasure.